Expert care from people who care. Hey everyone! Today we are here at the Outreach Teen and Family Services office with Kate, Grace, and Maggie. We are going to be discussing how to support a friend who is struggling with their mental health.
So we're going to first start off with some fast 5 questions. So my first question for you guys is roller coaster or lazy river?
Oh, I'm a lazy river girl. I like to just relax and be chill about it. And I didn't go on a roller coaster that went upside down until literally last summer.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I still don't like them.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Maggie?
I love roller coasters.
Me too.
I think they're so fun. I
Yeah.
haven't been on one in a while.
Me neither. I don't think I went to Kennywood all of last summer.
Me neither. My sister and I used to always go to Cedar Point.
Oh, I've never been to Cedar Point.
It's like Roller Coaster Park of America. That's
Yeah.
like their tagline. Yeah, I love a little adrenaline.
Yeah. I think I would have to pick Lazy River, even though I love roller coasters, only because I get really annoyed by the line, that you have to wait in to get on roller coasters. And at Kennywood, what's the big one called? The Steel Curtain.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love that, but the line is so long. And then whenever you wait an hour to go on a ride that's 2 to 3 minutes, I really have to be in the mood to do that.
You're so right.
But then at Lazy River, it's you can just hop in and out whenever.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, my second question, which actually I wrote these before we had the big storm, but now looking back, this is kind of funny. But would you rather always have great Wi-Fi or unlimited phone battery?
Wow, this is so.
I know, I wrote
this
this
is
before.
so.
Okay, I would say always have great Wi-Fi because that was my issue during the power outage. Because I have portable chargers, so I was my phone would be fine all day, but the Wi-Fi was such a problem because I couldn't actually use my phone for anything.
Yeah,
what
such a good
you,
point.
Maggie?
It was tough. I think I was missing both during the recent power outage for sure. But if I had to pick one, I guess your phone needs to be charged to ultimately use Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess maybe I'll go with charging my phone, making sure my phone's charged. Good thing for that cellular data too.
Yeah, my house is just in a dead spot where it's one bar.
Oh, no, that's awful.
What about you, Kate?
I think I'd have to say great Wi-Fi all the time because, like you said, Grace, even though I have decent cellular service at my house, when I was trying to do homework and my computer doesn't have cell service, so I have to use my phone's hotspot. But then every single time I close my computer and reopen it, it disconnects from my phone's hotspot. So I had to every single time I accidentally closed it, or because it was just I'm just used to closing it when I'm not when I go up and do something. I had to come back and get my phone and reconnect it, and it was just frustrating.
Yeah. My hotspot doesn't work.
Really?
I need to figure that out.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to turn mine on and then off and then on.
Okay. Yeah. I need to look into that.
Okay. Ice cream in a cup or a cone?
Oh. I'm gonna go ice cream in a cone. I'm a big cone girl.
I want to be a cone girl, but I always choose cup. And I don't have any good reason.
I always choose cup because I'm not a huge fan of the cones. And I hate being rushed to eat my ice cream. Even though I eat it, I probably eat it the same speed if I had a cone. But when it's in a cup, I know if it melts, I'm not it's not dripping all over me.
Yeah, I also love when it gets a little melty.
Yeah,
I like to eat around the edges and then go in the middle.
Fourth question is group hangout or one-on-one deep talk?
Oh, one-on-one deep talk for sure.
Yeah.
I feel you just get so much closer that way. And group hangouts are fun, but I feel you're so much closer. You get so much closer when it's just 2 people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's interesting for me because I definitely value both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think as I've gotten older, you just tend not to have as many group hangouts.
Yeah.
Once you're out of college and things like that. And now I really do value like just one-on-one deep
Mhm.
talks about life and what we're going through and things
Yeah.
like that. And then as a counselor too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it always fills my bucket up to have like
Yeah.
a really good conversation with somebody.
I would say I appreciate both for sure, but I sometimes feel like I like group hangouts in a way, and I don't mean like a big group of people where you're not super comfortable with everyone, but like when you're in a group where like you guys are all really good friends, like my friends and I, there's like 4 of us, and so when we like all go out together, I feel like we basically have that like one-on-one deep talk, but like between 4 of us, which like I find really
Yeah.
I
fulfilling.
think that's so special.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. I can kind of relate to that, like being a triplet.
Yeah.
Like I was so used to all 3 of us talking
Yeah.
Mhm.
all together, and it was very deep.
Yeah.
And it kind of felt one-on-one, like you were
Yeah.
saying, but it was multiple people.
Yeah. Okay, last question is spontaneous trip or detailed itinerary?
I'm such a detailed itinerary person. I need my plan. Like,
Yeah.
I could not, like, doing a spontaneous trip would make me so anxious.
Yeah.
Like, I need to know where we're going, how we're getting there, when we're gonna be there, all of it.
I'm pretty spontaneous. Like
Yeah.
I'm okay for a spontaneous trip, but I'm also good with plans. Like I don't know, I'm pretty flexible in that way.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever been truly on a spontaneous trip, like
Yeah.
go to the airport and spin the globe and be
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
we're going here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll pick spontaneous trip. That seems fun.
Yeah. I think I've got to go with detailed itinerary. I've never, like, I would agree, I've never really been on a true spontaneous trip, but I think detailed itinerary, but also having, like, I like when you are on vacation and then you, like, wake up and, like, you get to choose what you want to do that day.
Me too.
Yeah. Like, not like, oh, like, I have to be here at 9 a.m.
Right.
And then, like, I have to be back at 12 p.m. and then go this place at 2 p.m. Like, sometimes that makes me feel like that's not really a vacation. But, like, when you get to, like, relax and, like, be like, okay, yeah, let's go do this thing.
Yeah.
I think that's really fun.
Yeah, I love like having some things that I definitely want to like explore or visit on a trip, and then also just have some times where it's like,
Oh, for sure.
let's just do nothing.
Yeah.
I will plan to be.
I'll plan to do nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the pool. Yeah, those were good questions, Kate.
Thank you.
We'd like to take a moment to express our gratitude to St. Clair Health. They've been our steadfast annual sponsor, supporting our podcast for 4 consecutive years now.
At St. Clair Health, we're always improving, building on our commitment to face the challenges of today, making an impact on the communities we serve, so we can be stronger together. St. Clair Health, expert care from people who care.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to chat with you both about how to support a friend's mental health, especially since May is Mental Health Month. So I'm wondering for you both, like, when you think of support, like, what does that mean? Like, what does that word look like to you?
So, for me personally, I think support can be very different depending on the situation.
Yeah.
Because some of my closest friends live very far away. So, supporting them can be sending lots of texts to check in on them, or making more time to call or FaceTime, or trying to plan a trip to go see them. But then when it's friends that are closer, I think it's more about like physically being there and about like what they need in that moment, if that's a shoulder to cry on, if that's a distraction, or just being like very, very cognizant of what the person needs. Because sometimes you just want someone to listen and you don't really want advice.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're looking for advice. So I think it's just about what the specific situation is and what the person needs in that moment. What about you, Kate?
I would agree. I think it's, like you said, just being there when, like, you need someone, or, like, being there for someone when they need you. And I think it's a lot about, like, not even asking for the help in a way, because I know obviously, like, this, we're talking mostly about mental health, but, like, one of my best friends, like, she had to put her dog down, like, 2 days ago, and she was, like, very, very upset. So what me and my 2 other friends did is, like, we went to her house and, like, I bought her Starbucks before, like her favorite drink and then a cake pop, and like we picked her up and I gave it to her, and like we let her like kind of cry it out. And then like that night, like I took her to like my spin class with me because I knew like it
Yeah.
would brighten her day. And like it's kind of just us always being there for her, even though like she didn't like ask us to do anything. And then we also got her like a golden retriever stuffed animal and everything, which is coming in the mail. So we're gonna like give that to her. So I think it's
Aw.
like obviously this was a very specific situation where like she had to put her dog down, but I think it's like just like you said, being cognizant of like what other people are going through and like knowing how to support them even when they can't necessarily ask for help, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like that's a very like relatable situation that like a lot of like it's such a like a common thing that people have to deal with, like the grief of losing a pet.
Yes.
But it's such like it can be so real. Like my sister, this is not the same level, but her fish died.
Oh wait,
Yeah.
She had this
your
fish
mom was telling
for like
my mom and I
Yeah.
about how like she was so worried about her fish because of the power.
Yeah, she had this fish for like 3 weeks, and it just the fish was, I don't know what happened. There were 2 other fish in the tank that they survived, and that fish
Didn't
I don't
survive.
know. It was very sad for her. So,
Yeah.
like, and she doesn't like to talk about things at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for supporting her with that, which is not the same level as losing a dog, but she's
Hey,
very
to each their own.
She's a very empathetic person. So that's just her. Like, I went into her room and I said, like, I'm sorry this happened. And I didn't mention anything that, like, why are you making such a big deal out of a fish? Because in that moment, like, it was just, she was just sad.
Yeah.
She was just sad.
Yeah.
She just needed to cry it out.
Yeah, her fish.
I really feel like support is anything that makes or helps someone feel like grounded and connected. Like,
Absolutely.
I feel like you both really touched on connection is a huge part when we think about this word support.
Yeah.
And I think it's support is such a like two-way street, right? Like there's times in our life where we're going to need to receive support. And then there's times in our lives where we want to support our loved ones or our friends who are going through a difficult time or experience. Can you think of a time when someone like really supported you and it meant a lot?
I can definitely start on that one.
Yeah.
So, through the college process, the day that I was going to find out about I was going to hear back from 6 colleges, was while I was on a family trip in Disney World.
Okay.
Which is obviously, it's the happiest place on earth. So, sounds like a great place to be.
Yeah.
But what my family did that was like, I felt really supportive is that they let me decide like where I wanted to be, and I was like, okay, I want to be in the hotel room and I want to be alone, and I will text you guys what happened, and they worked the schedule around what I needed in that moment, and that was just very special to me because it was like obviously a trip for the whole family, but they took the time and planned to make sure that I would be the most comfortable as I could be.
Yeah.
For obviously not a great situation. Like
right.
I feel like I don't know if I can think of like one specific like outstanding situation, but I feel like I know I mentioned my mom a lot, but like I feel like always when I feel like ungrounded and like kind of, I don't know if unstable is the right word, just like sad or not in the right mindset, like I'll ask my mom for a hug, and like every time she gives me a hug, like it makes me feel so much better. And I think that really ties into what you were mentioning earlier, Maggie, about like connection. And I feel like, I mean, that's a very obvious example of like physical connection, but I know not everyone's like love language is physical touch, but personally I think mine is. And so just like having that hug from my mom like really brightens my day.
Yeah.
Something else I was thinking about, Kate, is that when your friends came to the OCC trivia night, like I thought that was such a sweet way where they showed their support for you by just like showing up to an event that you planned.
Yeah.
And that just really made me happy. It was so nice to see them there.
I
agree.
Yoga as well.
Awesome. Yeah. And Grace, it was so sweet that your parents showed up too.
Yeah.
I think it's so, that really is like a true, like showing up, I think is another aspect of support that can be really touching. So the mental health Coalition, they have like 4 ways that support leads to greater mental wellness. So they say building connection, which is an antidote to stress. So I wonder too, Kate, if like that like physical hug is normally pretty like stress alleviating in our bodies.
Yeah.
So maybe that also is like a helpful thing for you.
Thinking, like a weighted blanket.
Yeah.
The compression.
Yeah, or going back to pets, like some emotional support dogs, like they can be trained to hug.
Oh yeah, I've seen them where like they lay on the.
Yeah, they can lay on their human if they
Yeah.
can sense that they're going through like a stressful or difficult time. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Another way that support leads to greater mental wellness is by creating increased vulnerability with someone, like with someone else, actually strengthens that bond and connection.
Yeah.
I think that's really beautiful because sometimes I feel like in today's culture, vulnerability is seen as
like a weakness.
weakness.
Something negative.
Yeah. But really, I think in like the mental health field, we really look at that as an opportunity to deepen a bond with somebody. And if like someone does open up and say they're going through a difficult time, or like, hey, I'm really anxious about what college I'm gonna get into. Normally it allows the other person to be like, oh, okay, I can actually share. It like opens a door kind of like, okay, now I can share what I'm actually feeling instead of like, it's all good.
And I think being able to be vulnerable and honest is truly such a strength that not a lot of people have today.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's, of course, it's something that I could work on, but I feel like it's something that just like as a society, like we're very closed off from each other. And I feel like that's one of the great things about seeing a counselor is that it gives you an opportunity to like be vulnerable with someone who won't judge you if you're worried about your friends or your family being judgmental, or if it's something that you're not comfortable telling them yet.
Right. Like working with a counselor, the counselor is trained to be objective, right? And to create a safe and understanding space where the whole goal is that we can learn to be vulnerable because that's the way we can ultimately grow, right? And really process what we're thinking and feeling.
I also think that like being vulnerable can also help you like understand what you're thinking and feeling, because like just like saying something out loud is different than like thinking it in your head, because like we like so often like we feel so overwhelmed, like so many different things, and like just being able to like even just like state what's stressing you out, like why you feel anxious, can really help sometimes, which is why like talking to a counselor is awesome.
Yeah. And if someone's not ready to talk to a counselor and be vulnerable in that way, I think another alternative is journaling.
I was just going to say
right?
that.
Like that is such a great way to be vulnerable and express. And sometimes a good way for some people.
Yeah.
I really like this too. Like support really helps with our mental health because it fosters the feeling that you're not alone, which is mental health can really make us feel alone, especially when we're kind of caught up in our thoughts and overwhelmed feelings in our head. We can think like no one else is going through this right now. So being able to support one another really does, I think, foster this sense of we're not alone, and instead we're actually all in this together.
Let's take a moment to acknowledge St. Clair Health. We're deeply grateful for their generous sponsorship of the 4th season of Teens Tap In.
At St. Clair Health, we're always improving, building on our commitment to face the challenges of today, making an impact on the communities we serve so we can be stronger together by creating reliable resources that recognize all of our neighbors with access to the highest quality healthcare, advanced care close to home, and a shared humanity that delivers on our joint vision to create a healthier community for all. St. Clair Health, expert care from people who care.
Thanks, Grace. All right. So I'm wondering too if we want to kind of chat about some conversation starters, because I do think when we're showing up to support our friends or our family who are navigating mental health, it can be hard to know what they are looking for, right? Like you were sharing earlier, Grace. You have to know what they need. Is it a listening ear? Is it a distraction? So I think learning how to like initiate those conversations can be really helpful. So yeah, do either of you have any ideas or what normally works for you when you're showing up for a friend? If you're noticing maybe they've been like off, like how you start that?
I think we were kind of just talking about this, but like being vulnerable yourself. Like if you're able to like have enough courage to like tell that person like what you're going through, what you're feeling, or a vulnerability that you have, it often makes them much more open to opening up to you. And I think that can be a great way to like start the conversation without making it obvious that like you're trying to get them to say something to you.
I think a big part of starting the conversation is where the conversation is taking place. And like if you were like, I think my friend Sally is struggling. Maybe we invite Sally over to our house or something, or a more like comfortable space, and we're not like, okay, let's go talk in a crowded restaurant.
Yeah, or like in the middle of the school hallway.
Yeah. And then I think it's just like, I think before you even start the conversation, it's like making sure that you're in the right space. And I feel like that's usually a space that's more quiet and more private.
I don't know if you would agree with this, but at least for my friends and I think some of our like deepest conversations happen like when we're in the car together. Like I think 100%. I think it's like being like, hey, like let's go get frozen yogurt, and then like you get the frozen yogurt, you go back and sit in the car, and like
Yep. I feel like it's the same. Like it's a place that's comfortable and it's a place that's private.
I know it's private because like it's like your own space.
Yeah, and I feel like that's like a lot of. I feel like people are often very concerned that someone else is gonna like hear. Like I hate talking about having deep conversations in like restaurants because I'm like, what if the person behind me is listening?
Sure.
And I feel like that's important. And then a big thing for me is sometimes you really don't know what that person needs. And sometimes I'm like, hey, do you want me to give advice or do you want me to just listen? And I'm here for you and to do whatever you want. And because it just depends on the person and it depends on that situation again. And sometimes like I just want to rant and I just want someone to listen. And sometimes I'm like, please give me advice, I'm stuck.
Yes. I think that's my number one tip really working with like parents and with their teenagers is I think it can be normally we don't like seeing people upset or distressed and we're not really coached on how to handle those situations. So I think a lot of the times it's easy for us to jump to like problem solving mode, you know, like and just kind of disregard the feeling and just like jump into advice. But I think for most of us, we just want to feel heard, you know? And I think the second best thing we can do is ask, like, hey, but just like you said, Grace, like, how can I show up best for you? Do you just want me to listen? Or do you want advice? And then I think it's also encouraging that on the person that needs supported, right? Like it's really great to learn how to advocate for yourself and share like, hey, right now I just like I really need a hug, or right now I really just need you to listen to me. Can I have like 5 minutes to vent? Or it's like, I'm really stuck. Like, do you have any advice on this situation?
And I feel like a true friend will absolutely, if you're like, hey, like I just want to rant, please don't give me advice. A true friend will be there and listen and they won't give you advice.
Exactly. And they'll listen to what you need.
And if there's someone that's like, no, I'm going to give you advice anyway, then maybe you find a new person to rant to. And if like advocate for yourself and know that if someone's not listening to what you're saying you need, then that might not be, they might not be the best person for you.
What?
Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm a big supporter of venting.
Yep.
I think
we all need to vent.
So much
yes.
better.
But I think you bring up such a great point, Grace, about like finding it's okay if you have different people who support you in different ways for different situations.
Yes.
And I think as long as you know those people to go to for whatever the situation, like maybe you have an advice person, like one of those friends or adults in your life that are so great at providing advice that you need, but they're not really great at just listening.
Yeah.
Right? We all have our strengths, and I think being able to find those people that work when you need certain support is also kind of another key thing to kind of learn, just like environment. Yeah.
I feel like that's especially big for me because one of my best friends has special needs.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I absolutely adore her. And I know if I ever need a distraction, like she's my person to go to.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like, she's not my person to go to for advice on very, like, complex social issues.
Sure.
And it's just knowing that, like, it's okay to have a lot of people in your corner. And that it doesn't have to be one person to go to for everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we really did a good job of like identifying, hopefully for our listeners, a few new ways if you're noticing that a friend seems down or someone seems like they do need support, some ways to initiate and start those conversations. I think the only thing that's showing up for me that I would maybe add is sometimes you can also use like an I statement, like, hey Kate, like I noticed you haven't been in school the past couple days. Like, I just wanted to check in. Like, how are you doing? You know, and kind of inviting conversation in that way.
Yeah. And I think the phrasing of that can be so important because I think sometimes being like, hey Kate, you haven't been in school.
Right.
Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. And I think, like,
you don't want to make it, like, accusatory.
Exactly.
And you normally does. It's, like, kind of evokes, like, blaming and shaming.
Yeah, because it's like, hi, Grace. Like you said, you haven't been in school. Like, what's up with you or what's wrong with you? And that just makes it feel like you're blaming the other person.
Yeah, and I feel like it's not a good start for an open, vulnerable conversation. So I love the I statements.
Yeah. Because I statements are really coming from the person, right? Like, hey, I noticed this.
Yeah.
And it really leads to discussion instead of like placing what you're noticing on the other person, which does seem accusatory a lot of the times.
And I also think it can be good to use I statements when you're giving advice. And you'd be like, I think that maybe this would be a good plan, instead of being like, you should do this, or even worse, you should have done this.
Yes.
And I'm just being like, this is what I think, but it's your decision, it's your life. And if you want to do the complete opposite, then you do that.
I couldn't agree more, because I think then you're really acknowledging that even though we go through similar experiences, we don't experience the same thing, right? Like everything this same way. So saying I experienced this, I think, again, it's like you're taking autonomy over like your life, but you're also giving the other person autonomy to make their own choices, because we do have that. We have choice when it comes to our life. So I know I would be a lot more inclined to listen to somebody giving me advice if they used I statements instead of you statements. It kind of makes me normally get defensive, to be honest.
I think it, like, also when you use an I statement to talk to someone, it feels like you're not placing yourself in a position where you think you're like better than the other person. Because like you don't really want to listen to advice from someone who is only giving you advice because they view you as like beneath them.
Yeah.
You know, you want to, like, especially if you're the one giving advice, like you want to like be on the same level as that person.
That's really true.
Yeah, and I also think a good point on that is like, if you're giving support and they want advice and you don't know the answer, it's okay to be like, I honestly don't know.
Like, I don't know if I'm the best person to ask. Like,
or
maybe
be like,
you should talk to.
Maybe we should figure this out together. Like, who could we ask?
I truly respect that answer so much.
And knowing your strengths and knowing your weaknesses is so important.
And again, that does take vulnerability to say. I think a lot of us, we want to know, if someone's coming to us with advice, like that seems weird to not actually give them advice, but the vulnerable and honest answer sometimes is like, I really don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm here to kind of walk this with you, and we'll figure it out together.
To conclude, we want to express our gratitude to St. Clair Health, whose support makes this podcast possible. We invite you to listen to the following message from our sponsor.
At St. Clair Health, we're always improving, building on our commitment to face the challenges of today, making an impact on the communities we serve, so we can be stronger together. St. Clair Health, expert care from people who care.
Well, thank you everyone so much for listening. We do have a fun event coming up on May 18th that Kate referenced earlier on in the podcast, but we're going to be having the Outreach College Crew Mental Health Awareness Mindful event. And like I said, it'll be May 18th at 9 a.m. at OTB Hastings, so over the bar Hastings. We really hope to see you all there. We'll be doing a fun yoga flow outside, and then everyone is welcome to stay for brunch, and there'll be some different mocktails and fun drinks where if you want one, some of the proceeds will benefit Outreach. So yeah, we hope to see you all there. Stay tuned on socials for how to sign up and how to register.
Thank you all for listening.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed in the Teens Tap In podcast represent the opinions of the hosts and their guests. The views and opinions expressed by Outreach Teen and Family Services employees, donors, and volunteers are their own and do not necessarily reflect the view of Outreach Teen and Family Services or the show's sponsors. The content here should not be taken as counseling advice. The content here is for informational purposes only, and because each person is unique, please consult your mental health provider or physician for any mental health counseling or other medical questions. The podcast should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever, including, but not limited to, establishing a standard of care in a legal sense, or as a basis for expert witness testimony. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast. If you find any error in any of the content of the podcast, please contact us at podcasts@outreachteen.org. Outreach Teen and Family Services, its sponsors, donors, and partners expressly disclaim any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages whatsoever arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, reliance on, or inability to use this podcast or the information presented in this podcast. Please go to www.outreachteen.org to see the complete notice and disclaimer for the podcast episodes.